Kids, hello. First of all, happy Halloween. I am the Jersey Devil today. This is not my normal standard for Halloween, but whatever. We have to talk. So it really seems to be true that I post something and then Marvel's like, here's a low-key announcement. So there's an official Marvel offer out to Hugh Jackman, which has been leaked by someone who works there. I take all leaks with a grain of salt because I very much doubt that many people who are close to decision-making, even if they're in a secretarial role or something like that, I very much doubt that they haven't signed a pretty ironclad NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Kevin Feige definitely has those for people that work with him. We know this because they get constantly annoyed at Tom Holland for violating it by accident because he's the world's cutest little puppy. And he just forgets that he signed a pretty aggressive non-disclosure agreement. They're not supposed to talk about whatever is on a given list. So the fact that a screen cap of official Marvel sort of paperwork that said there was an offer out to Hugh Jackman, the fact that that got released on Twitter, probably orchestrated. But who cares? Hugh Jackman. We're going to get the Wolverine. Well, we always knew we were going to get the Wolverine. And frankly, I'm okay with this just being like a multiverse of madness, one and done sort of deal. I'm fine with Hugh Jackman cameoing for a movie and then sort of moving on. He said that the only way he would reconsider putting back on Wolverine was if Marvel decided to buy or integrate Wolverine into the Avengers, that he would do it for a big team up like that. So Multiverse of Madness definitely seems to be tamping down on the different varieties of characters we have. He's not confirmed for Multiverse. We just know there's an offer out. But here's something the internet has gifted us. If you look up the IMDb for Multiverse of Madness and you expand the character search, the cast search, you have two exciting additions. I guess I should say three. We all knew Tobey Maguire said yes. Andrew Garfield is listed, so he's in. Not that anyone really was concerned. What's Andrew Garfield doing these days? But Ryan Reynolds is on it. Deadpool. We have Deadpool. Deadpool's coming. He's here. And then, a fun little thing is if you keep scrolling, Tom Hiddleston's there at the end, which we expected when they launched a Loki Disney Plus series. We expected that, the whole genesis of that comes out of Endgame, where there's an alternative timeline, Loki, that escaped during the failed time heist. These multiple universes are eventually going to collide. What's interesting is that Loki who escaped lacks all of the sort of he lacks all the softening and heroic growth that happened during Dark World and Ragnarok for Loki, because he's escaping after the Avengers before he's even brought back to Asgard and imprisoned. One wonders what Asgard looks like in a timeline where Loki's not imprisoned in it. How different does this make the Dark World? Does Ragnarok really go horrifically wrong? I would love to see some of those timelines. I would love to see Loki triumphant timeline. I liked that book. Anyway, Deadpool. I have previously mentioned that we have some characters of a similar, by no means the same, but similar style to Deadpool. You have Kamala Khan, who's a lot of fan service. She speaks kind of the same thought process that a lot of the readers have. She has fandoms and ships within the different superheroes because she lives in the world of the superheroes and she is a fan prior to getting the powers. I don't know how they're going to do origin story on her. I would think it'd be cool for her to just be a mutant now. America Chavez, same kind of dealio. She's younger. She's more of a commentary piece. She makes commentary on what's around her. Deadpool is a running commentary, and he breaks the fourth wall constantly. He's also really irreverent and just says whatever he wants, to include a variety of unpleasant words that the House of Mouse usually does not allow. I've previously covered that Hamilton was sort of a soft trial run to see how people felt about language in Disney. Hamilton was so popular and people wanted it so badly, but it has F-bombs in it. And how do you navigate that in the Disney Princess Castle? Honestly, because you have to realize that the viewership pool overlaps. Like, you have a lot of kids watching Marvel movies, kids that are probably too young. I think one of my great memories is I saw Avengers 1 in theater with my now husband and his best friend. It was one of our fairly early dates. Like, we were dating not that long, and we did that. And we all sat there in a jam-packed, no breathing room movie theater. God, the days of jam-packed movie theaters. Anyway, we sat there in this jam-packed movie theater where we could not, put your arm on the armrest. And he was vibrating. He was so excited because he's been a Marvel reader since he's 3-4 years old. Like, he's been going to the comic book store to get a comic every week for decades. He has rooms of collectible statues. He's an old school original Marvel fanboy. So he was always in for these movies. We used to see every movie on opening night. When we were young, we used to see them on Thursday openings or midnight openings too. But I digress. When we sat there in Avengers 1, right in front of us, and I could see his blood start to boil, there was a 7 or 8-year-old kid. And that kid was just bouncing in his chair, and my husband was like, I've waited for this for 26 years. I won't be able to handle this kid ruining this day for me. And I was like, be calm. He hasn't ruined anything yet. And he's like, he's going to talk through this movie. He's going to ask questions. He's not going to have the correct responses. It's not going to be okay. And I'm like, what did you really expect? What did you really expect? These movies appeal to kids. And then, long story short, the kid was actually amazing and led to one of the sweetest moments ever, which in the final sort of battle sequence of Avengers 1, Cap looks at everybody and he's like, you do this and you do this and you do this. And he looks at Hulk and he goes, Hulk, smash. And the kid was just like, Hulk, smash. And my husband was like, you're a good kid. Hulk does smash. But the kid was really well behaved. But the issue being, do you really give kids between the ages of 4 and 11 things with rough language in them? And Deadpool's not mildly rough. Deadpool's not Hamilton dropping 2 F-bombs. Deadpool's awful. He says awful things. I am so dead curious if they allow Deadpool to do his thing, because the reason the Deadpool movies have been good, even when they weren't, Deadpool 2 was not great, but it was good for what it was because Deadpool needs that space to just be totally dark and irreverent. Interestingly, you have Moon Knight in here too. Oscar Isaac's got cast as Moon Knight. Moon Knight has a similar dark swagger to him, and he's on Disney+. So there's a distinction between Multiverse of Madness, which is a mass release movie, and a Disney+ series, which is going to give people regular weekly exposure to it, because now, of course, we're dropping things one at a time and not dropping whole seasons. Shoot me in the face. But to have Moon Knight sort of be that vaguely R-rated, superhero in terms of violence and language, weekly, that really doubles Marvel's potential exposure, because a parent might be able to keep their kid out of a movie theater and keep their kid away from a movie, but to keep them away from something like Disney Plus, where the kids are probably on it daily or weekly looking at other shows, to have that be very hard to filter out is another interesting kind of piece of this whole dynamic. Now that they have Moon Knight in, I bet, and especially given Multiverse, so they've gone so far over the top with Multiverse. We got Tobey Maguire, we got Andrew Garfield, we're going to have Hugh Jackman. It's all coming together, folks. The fact that they're doing Deadpool and all of that, I think they actually integrate the Marvel TV series from Netflix. I think they actually canonize it. Because Moon Knight and Punisher interact, and people love John Barenthal's Punisher. It's great. It's epic. The casting of the Defenders, except for Iron Fist, who was terrible, the whole Iron Fist series slaughtered what was otherwise some amazing television. Jessica Jones, amazing casting, brilliant writing. Luke Cage, season 1 was among the best seasons of television ever created. Season 2 I didn't even finish because I was a couple episodes in, they had canceled everything, it wasn't as good, and I couldn't do it. Daredevil. Charlie Cox's Daredevil needs to be in the MCU. And Barenthal's Punisher is really great. Moon Knight interacts with Punisher. I wouldn't be surprised if they do canonize it. They have to deal with the fact that they have a really god-awful Iron Fist, but they could. They've recasted Hulk, they can recast Iron Fist, and they should. But we might get Defenders. We really might get Defenders. And I wouldn't have said that, even though they bought all these properties, and they've said repeatedly, like, those are separate, they're not in the same universe. Well, yeah, but now you're tearing down the walls, and everyone in different universes is playing the same game. So I think they're coming. Let me know what your hopes, dreams, and expectations are for the upcoming MCU. I just had to, react to this because I've been losing my mind for 2 days in glorious, glorious excitement. Happy Halloween, kids. Have fun. Be safe. Talk to you soon.